Hi guys, what's going on? It's Ben here. Today I'm back again with another video, and I'm going to be discussing the MVP debate and basically why I think Giannis has a good case, but James Harden at this point in the season should win the award. So now obviously this all comes down to often like what do you think MVP is? And while I do think it should go to the player that's had the best season, I often think that it just goes to the player that is on the best. Basically, I think it goes to the best player on the best team. So an example of this would be like the 2014 to 15 season. You saw James Harden. He averaged around 30 points a game, and he got the Rockets to 56 wins or 55 or something like that. And he didn't win, but Steph Curry won, and Steph averaged something like 23 points a game, 7 assists a game, shot like 42% from the three-point land, and really the only explanation is that his team had more wins, which I don't think is a good way to do it because you can have, like let's say in 2005 to 2006 you had Chauncey Billups on the Pistons, who was the best player on the best team during the regular season. So you could argue, if we're going to go by that standard, like Steph Curry winning it in 2015, that basically Chauncey Billups should have been the MVP that season. But as everyone knows, players such as like Shaq and Steve Nash and Kobe were much more of the people being debated for that award, along with Dirk Nowitzki and LeBron James as well. Because although Chauncey was the best player on the best team, he clearly was not the best player in the league, which is how I feel a lot of times about this award, is that it goes to the wrong player just based on their team's record. Like last year, why didn't DeMar DeRozan win the MVP? His team had the second most wins in the league and the best record in the East, the best record the franchise has ever had. They were higher in the standings than people thought that they would be. Most people thought they'd be the 3 or the 4 seed, and they were the 1 seed. Obviously, last year it's because the Rockets had the best season overall during the regular season. They were just all around the best. But you could make arguments that the wrong people win MVP award often. So basically what I'm going to get into is what I define MVP as, and I think that's basically like two things. First, who would I rather start a team with between two players? That's one of them. And then based on that season's production, like during that season, if I could only have one player to start with, who would I pick? And then two, a lot of people don't like this approach, but I think it's pretty valuable just because I think it shows the value added to the team. How would the team operate without the player, slash if you switch that player on the team with a different guy, how would they perform? Such as like if you replaced James Harden with just like an average NBA player, let's say like I'm trying to think of somebody. Like if you replaced him with somebody like Kevin Knox on the Knicks, who's like a really average NBA player all around, like how would they do? I don't know. So today basically what I'm going to get into is why James Harden deserves MVP over Giannis at this point during the season. So first of all, I'll read over both guys' stats. I'll start with Giannis. He's averaging 27 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1.5 blocks, 4 turnovers a game. He's shooting 58% from the field, 17% from 3, and 70% from the line. Now looking at James Harden's stats, he is averaging 35 points a game, 6 rebounds, 9 assists a game, 2 steals, half a block, roughly 6 turnovers a game, shooting 44% from the field and 38% from 3. Let's see here, from the line, he's averaging 86% while shooting 11 free throws a game, which is very impressive. For reference, Giannis is shooting 9 a game. The real big difference here is that I think the Rockets are probably going to finish as like the 4 seed in the West. And if they do that, let's say they do that and finish with like 54 wins, what's more impressive, them doing that or Milwaukee finishing with 59, 58 wins in the East and being the 2 seed behind Toronto? Like, who's more deserving between those two then? Because I see Toronto winning the East. I don't see the Bucks winning the East. And honestly, 54 games in the much tougher Western Conference is a lot more impressive than 58 wins in the weaker Eastern Conference. Essentially, in the West right now, everybody is a contender except for Phoenix, whereas in the East, you really only have about 6 contenders, or 5 even, if you think that like the Heat aren't much of a matchup, then you'd say 5. So 14 compared to 5, it's a lot harder to win in the West. And the reason I come at that like 54 mark is that after the Rockets started 1-5, since then they are on pace to be like a 54 win team. So that's where I arrive at that margin right there. Okay, so just as far as their stats, obviously the 35 points from Harden beats the 27 points from Giannis, but Giannis shoots a better percentage. He shoots, or he rebounds better. He assists worse. So, okay, points goes to Harden. Rebounds goes to Giannis. Assists goes to Harden. But like steals and blocks go to Giannis. And then you have field goal percentage goes to Giannis, but then you have 3-point percentage, which goes to Harden, and then you have free throw percentage, which goes to Harden. So they each have their reasons why they should win, but okay, here's what I'm going to look at. So the Bucks have played, let's see here. The Bucks have played 42 games. Giannis has played in 39 of them. And then the rest of their starters, Malcolm Brogdon has played in 39. Chris Middleton has played in 40. And then Bledsoe and Brook Lopez have played in all 42. Okay, so now the key for me here is to look at then Houston and their supporting cast. So Harden has played in 40 games out of, let's see, how many have the Rockets played in total? The Rockets have played 43 total. So Harden has played in 40. PJ Tucker's played in 43, so he's played in all of them. Clint Capella in 42, so all but one of them. And then Chris Paul has played in 26 of them, so he's missed 17 games. Eric Gordon has played in 32, so he's missed 11 of them. James Ennis has only played in 30. And those are like his supporting guys right there. You got Tucker, Capella, Gordon, Paul, and then James Ennis starts probably as much as Gordon, but there's been injuries, so Gordon's been in the starting lineup more often. But basically those 5 guys, in addition to Harden, are like the supporting cast. Now let's look at those 5 guys. Capella's having a great year, shooting 63% from the field, averaging 18 points a game and 13 rebounds, so he's been great. But then you look at the rest of the lineup, Eric Gordon shooting 38% from the field on 15 shots a game is putrid. He's shooting 30% from the 3-point line, when he's supposed to be a knockdown 3-point shooter. Besides that, he only averages 2 points and 2 assists a game, or 2 rebounds and 2 assists a game, which really doesn't contribute that much. So he's essentially only a scorer, but he's taking 15 shots a game, shooting 38%, which is pretty miserable. Chris Paul is setting career lows in assists, shooting percentage, points per game. He's setting a career high in turnovers per game. He's just not the same player he was, and he's also out injured, so you're not getting much from him at all. Carmelo Anthony, who we thought would be a big contributor, got cut 10 games into the season, so he's limited contributions. James Ennis has played okay, 50% from the field, 36% from 3, but again, only 7 points a game, so he's not doing a ton. Only like 1 assist a game and 3 rebounds a game, so again, not a ton outside of that. PJ Tucker averages 8 points a game, and he shoots 40% from the field and 39% from 3, so some okay numbers there. 6 rebounds a game, 1 assist a game, so again, okay numbers, but not amazing. So yeah, really, between Gordon, Paul, James Ennis, and PJ Tucker, he doesn't have much. And what he does have, they're shooting a really poor percentage. Clint Capella is essentially the only guy who's playing the way he should on that team besides Harden. Whereas on the Bucks, you have Chris Middleton, who's shooting 44% from the field, 38% from 3, and 18 points a game. Malcolm Brogdon is, for a shooting guard, doing really well. 16 points a game, averaging 52% from the field and 42% from three. So having clearly his best season ever. Eric Bledsoe shooting really high from the field for himself. He's shooting 49% from the field, 15 points a game. From three, he's only 31%, but he's not a great three-point shooter. And then Brook Lopez is the new Kyle Korver, 12 points a game, 44% from the field, while shooting 38% from three, shooting 7 threes a game, so that's really good. So essentially, what's my argument here? My argument is that James Harden is going to be a top 4 seed in the West, the much more difficult West, much more difficult. Let's remember that. Every team except one is a contender. He's going to be a top 4 seed with essentially no help. And Giannis is going to be a top 2 seed, but you could argue that 3 of his starters are having their best season yet. And one of them, Brook Lopez, is having a completely resurgent season. So from that standpoint, I feel like James Harden is doing so much more with so much less. Is he inefficient at times? Yes. Does he turn the ball over a lot? Yes. But would Houston right now be 10 games below 500 if he weren't playing like this? Yes. I think you have to factor in all the injuries that this team is overcoming. They are... Okay, let's see here. They are 7 games above 500 right now, 4th in the West, and I'd argue that their first player is playing, James Harden. Their second player, Chris Paul, hasn't been himself and has been injured a lot. Then you could argue Eric Gordon or Clint Capella is their 3rd best player. For the benefit of the doubt, let's say Eric Gordon is. So their 2nd and 3rd best player have played terrible and been injured. 4th best player has played how he should, Clint Capella. And their 5th best player, PJ Tucker, has played all right, but not amazing whatsoever. All this being said, I get that there's a really strong argument for Giannis because of their record, but I don't like the idea of just giving the award to the best player on the best team. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you disagree with me or agree with me or have something to say, let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to hear from you and discuss with you. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the video and hope you have a good day. Bye.